in Pakistan. Wait a minute. Isn't Yasser Qadi from Pakistan? I think he is. We'll double check that with Shahram, but I'm pretty sure he's from Pakistan. Yasser Qadi, the imam who was just down the street from our studios till he moved to Plano, Texas, building a 402-acre compound. Of course, you can add that in Plano to Irving and Dallas and Sugar Land, Texas, the takedown of Texas, and I think they have Tennessee next on their list. So I want to talk to Shahram Hadian. Why is the Texas House recognizing Pakistan Day? What is going on in Texas? Okay, that, and let's see, $4,000 gold. You guys seeing gold prices today skyrocketing? Over $3,300 an ounce. What else do we have today? Oh, we have RFK revealed the autism rate for boys in America is now 1 in 20 in California. 1 in 20 in California. No, sorry, it's now 1 in 20, and in California it's 1 in 12.5. Wow. It's now 1 in 20. In California, it's 1 in 12.5. Wait a minute, I thought we were 1 in 36 about a year ago. Then 1 in 31 is what we were told last week. Now a new study, RFK is announcing 1 in 20 boys. Well, I guess if you want to take down America, make sure you damage the future men of America. This is really troubling. Some of it's just flat out greed, right? They don't care what they put in America's food. Oh, by the way, back to the Islamist. Amy Meek over at Rare Foundation has just released a video of Yasser Qadi on the ranch. What was it called? The something Fork Ranch. What was that called? The historic ranch in Dallas there. South Fork Ranch. South Fork Ranch. Now, I was not a Dallas fan. The series on Friday nights from the late 70s to 80s. I was not a fan. I didn't watch it. It's just like a soap opera, and I wasn't into that. I'm not here to promote it. But, of course, it was a very Americana, iconic pop culture show. And I think that's the point I'm trying to make, is that Yasser Qadi has gone there with some imams, and he's like saying the same thing I have. I haven't seen the show. I don't know much about the show, other than it's an iconic American show. And what are they doing there? We'll talk about that with Shahram Hadian, because, again, it seems as though the Islamists are trying to take anything Americana or what it represents, TV shows that are promoting Texas, America, oil, ranches, the free market, and they are putting their stamp on it. It's really shocking. We'll get to that. Now, what an event we had last night at the Waukesha Expo Center. We had a capacity crowd. There were people standing in the back, and it was just a great night all around. And people this morning are emailing, already asking, I want to watch it. When is it going to be put into the vault? That's a good question. Later today, right, Logan? So later today, it'll be put into the vault for those who missed it. Some are wanting to watch it again. But I want to thank each and every one of you that turned out. And after the keynote presentations and we dismissed, I went to the back of the room there and stood behind the resource tables and visited for 2 hours. We finally pulled out of there at 11:34 p.m. Pulled out of there. It was a great time to visit with you guys, visit and share, for hearing you guys sharing testimonies and such encouraging things you guys had to share last night with us. And I thank you for that. I got some gifts last night. I showed them from the platform. I'm going to show them on TV tonight at 7:30 Central. One gentleman who I asked to stand up and I recognized him brought me a stack of extremely historic newspaper headlines. You guys know I love collecting those and having them framed and put into our control room 2 on the walls. And he brought me some that were talking about the end of World War II. I mean, all kinds of, I'll show them tonight. Very historic papers. So thank you for that. A former U.S. Marshal, retired a few years ago, he brought me 2 challenge coins, U.S. Marshal challenge coins. He said, I don't think those are being made anymore. So I have 2 of those to add to my coin challenge collection. I don't know if I've ever talked much about my coin challenge collection, but I have some great coin challenge coins from people like General Flynn and many others. I wanted one from General Flynn, but I didn't really want to ask. And he came into my office and he saw I had some on a rack there, and he just pulled something out of his pocket and placed one up there. He said, "Let me add to your collection." I said, "You know what? I've been wanting to ask you for one, but I didn't want to ask. I wanted to ask, but I didn't want to ask." And so he just went ahead and popped one up there. So I have a lot of great challenge coins. Now I have 2 from the U.S. Marshals. That's an agency that I hope will be turned around a little bit more under the current administration. But great time. Dolly made an appearance last night, and apparently Logan put something up on Facebook about the event and Dolly on the platform, and then people started adding their photographs of Dolly to our Facebook page. So I said, "Logan, send me some of those. I want to add those to my personal collection," because some of you took some great pictures of Dolly up there last night. She was shaking like a leaf. She'd never been in front of that many people or around that many people, but she warmed up, and then she came out to the front of the expo center at the front where we were just before we left, and was running around and greeting people. I want to thank Jim Schneider, VCY America, Jim being there, kicking it off. They have a big event coming up, by the way, with a lady that does a ministry taking on the role of Corrie ten Boom. So that's coming up real soon. Check out vcy.org. That'll be also at the Waukesha Expo Center. So it was great to see Jim last night, 40 years of ministry at VCY. We saw Dalton, who's our board operator. We saw Justin and met Justin's dad again, who's also in radio. I don't know if we saw Josh last night from TV. Did we see Josh from TV last night? No. He couldn't make it. Molly, and thank you, Molly, for helping out at Dr. Wood's table last night. Met Steven, who's a great carpenter, craftsman. And of course, we saw Sandy. Dan couldn't be there because he was working master control till about 11 p.m. I hope I'm not leaving anybody out, but it was great to see a lot of you guys last night with the VCY ministry. And of course, many of you that support VCY and listen to this broadcast as well. So thank you guys. It was so wonderful. We haven't done a Worldview rally in 7 years. It was just great to be there. So thank you to all of you for being there with us. Gold. Let me see what gold is at right now as we're on the air. Let me go there and check that out. Gold is really spiking. Gold right now as we're on the air is at $3,331.46. It's up $101.28 an ounce today. Silver was at $33 this morning. It's come down just a little bit. It's just under $33. It's at $32.94 here at 109 Central, 209 Eastern Standard. This is going to be very interesting to watch. We have different, 4,000 gold is coming as risk assets cracked, as Bloomberg's Mike McGlone, he told that to the folks over at Kitco News, $4,000 an ounce gold. Now, do you guys remember many years ago, and again, I apologize for my voice. I'm struggling with this thing now for over a month. Allergies, pollen, all that. And it's all blooming down there in Memphis, and yellow pollen's on everything. And now that we've gotten up here to the Midwest, and now we're in northern Illinois, be here today, tomorrow, and head back Friday, Good Friday. We'll give the whole staff day off Good Friday. We'll travel back. But now that we're up here, we thought we were going to get some reprieve. But now I see that your guys, at least here in northern Illinois, everything's starting to bloom here. So yeah, it's just all around allergies and lots of talking. So I apologize for that. But remember when we were talking several years ago about $5,000 an ounce gold? And that seemed like apocalyptic, did it not? Those seemed like apocalyptic figures. If we ever go to $5,000 an ounce gold, it must be hyperinflation. That was because we were talking about, $900 gold, $1,000 gold, right? And when you had Jim Rickers out there saying, "Oh, we're going to 5,000," and I interviewed him a few times. He said, "I don't even want to tell you where I think it's going because you wouldn't believe me." $5,000 an ounce gold sounded, again, well, that would mean our country's in a massive financial crisis. and we're probably headed towards some kind of massive hyperinflation or very, very high inflation. You just couldn't fathom $5,000 an ounce gold. I didn't doubt him. And I'm sure many of you thought, yeah, I could see that, but what will the country look like under that? It is amazing what our economy has been through, and yet we're all still here. But I don't know how much longer this can continue. But here we have Bloomberg's Mike McGlone saying we're going to $4,000 an ounce gold. Now, I talked to you guys the other day about a liquidity crisis, that I think we're in a liquidity crisis. Peter Schiff's out today saying the dollar bubble just burst. This is the collapse I've warned about for years. And he's saying that the federal government, the Fed, is going to have to lower interest rates, that not only are they going to have to lower interest rates, but they're going to have to pump in money. Quantitative easing. Well, that's going to create more inflation, right? You lower the interest rates, you make more dollars available with our fractional reserve banking, 10 cents on deposit for every dollar. You loan out 90 cents. Fractional reserve banking, banks creating money basically on a computer, lending out the credit, lower the interest rates, get that money going. Then you start pumping in dollars through quantitative easing, as they call it. Fabian socialism, John Maynard Keynes, Keynesian economics. Remember what John Maynard Keynes said, the Fabian socialist? By this continuous process of inflation, we can steal the vast majority of people's wealth, and not one in a million will know what we're doing. Well, I think a lot of people have now figured this out. But that's what's being discussed now. How are they going to keep this system from imploding? But many are saying it already is imploding. Let's see. What else do we have in the news? Let's see. I did see something else. I did post quite a few news stories today. Well, I see some stories here, but none of them are the ones I was really looking. Oh, yeah, here we go. This is it. Trump assassination plot tied to, quote, satanic cult, end quote. That's a report. A Trump assassination attempt tied to a satanic cult. Now, isn't that interesting? Because last night, my presentation was on Satanism, globalism, and world spiritual deception. And here we have a satanic cult. We'll be right back after this. Hello, I'm Brannon Howse. Melissa and I have been taking Bella Grace, this powerful elixir, since last fall, 2023. The results have been amazing. My hands would crack and bleed, deep cuts and cracks every winter for years. No matter what we did, we couldn't get them to stop cracking and bleeding. This year, I took Bella Grace, no cracking, no bleeding. My acid reflux, gone. Haven't had to take a Pepsid. My hair growth, the last 2 times I had my hair cut, the lady had to use thinning shears on my hair. That's amazing. We've also received incredible feedback from you, our listening audience, and the impact it's had for you. This is loaded with astaxanthin. That's a powerful antioxidant. Collagen, but top grade collagen. Studies show 95% of it is being absorbed in the body because of the way they develop it. Then we have something called cat's claw. That's an anti-inflammatory from a vine in Peru. It's the bark, and it's an anti-inflammatory. There are about 80 clinical trials on Bella Grace. Please get a subscription now and save. MelissaHousebg.com. Welcome back. Glad you're with us. I want to say, let's see, Dolly on stage number 2. Save that to my computer because John was there last night. I'm sure there's several people by the first name John, but I don't want to give out his last name over there without his permission. But John was there last night. He just emailed me 3 great pictures of Dolly up on the platform, so I got to save those to my computer real quick. And again, thank you to all of you. Showing us pictures that you took last night on our Facebook page. So that was great. Thank you for that. So, all right, let's go to Sharam Hady, and he joins us now because I don't know what's going on, folks, but there was some kind of resolution. I guess that's what it was, a resolution in Texas, and they're going to recognize and celebrate Pakistan Day. There's an article over at Gatestone Institute. Here's a couple bullet points. The problem is that at the same time as Texas was celebrating Pakistan Day, in Pakistan, Christian citizens were being arrested and sentenced to death for, quote, blasphemy, end quote. You know what that means, right? Blasphemy in Islam. You said something against the Prophet. You said something against Islam, something against Muhammad. Muslims were abducting young girls, Christian girls, abducting Christian girls to sexually abuse, forcibly, quote, marry, put quotes around that, and coerce into converting to Islam. Pakistan's national and provincial parliaments have given their consent to these atrocities. Christians, Hindus, and other non-Muslim communities in Pakistan have been enduring increased levels of violence and persecution. Listen to this. Under Pakistan's blasphemy laws, anyone found guilty of insulting Islam, its prophet, or other religious figures can be imprisoned and sentenced to death. The police are often biased and refuse to file reports from Christians and Hindus. The Texas House of Representatives might, instead of having dedicated March 23rd to Pakistan's abduction victims, might have dedicated March 23rd instead to Pakistan's abduction victims and abused children. The introduction of here's what it's called, a signal national curriculum in schools denigrates religious minorities and enforces the teachings of the Quran, the subjects like mathematics and science in an Islamicized manner. Thus, religion is permeating school education. Radical Islamic groups are flourishing. Such groups are innumerable, and even a ban will only make them reorganize, rebrand, and reemerge. The default option for dealing with radical Islamic movements who are able to mobilize millions for street protest is appeasement and even accommodation, end quote. That's what Open Doors said December 2024. Is that what's going on here? Is this appeasement by the House, the Texas House? Let's have Shahram Hadian join us. Shahram, welcome to the broadcast. Thanks for being here.
Brannon, great to be back on with you.
What do you make of this report?
Well, I mean, it would be not surprising if it was coming from another state. You know, I used to live in Washington State, which is far gone over to the dark side, and the governor of Washington just recognized Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Adha, the end of Ramadan, as two state holidays. So that's not surprising from the state of Washington, where I fought the Muslim Brotherhood CARE and the Islamic, takeover there. But this is Texas, right, folks? We're talking about the state of Texas. And it's perplexing to me that they would claim that there are approximately, this is according to the resolution, Brannon, that they claim there's approximately 80,000 Pakistanis inside Texas. So what's the population of Texas? Do we have that? So let me just look up here real quick. The current population of Texas is 31 million people. So if 31 million people, the legislature passed a resolution that we're going to recognize the country of Pakistan. Now, you just read the statistics from Open Doors, where Pakistan is number 8 on the list of top countries that are persecuting and killing Christians. They are an Islamic theocracy. When Pakistan liberated from India, back, 70, 80 years ago or whatever it was, I would have to look at the date of that. But when their liberation came, they massacred tens of thousands of Hindus upon their liberation under the guise of warfare. And you just mentioned that Pakistan is governed by Sharia, is governed by Islamic law. It's an Islamic theocracy. It is one of the worst countries in persecuting and killing Christians. And the supposed Christian state of Texas passes a resolution claiming there's 80,000 Pakistanis in a state with 31 million people. Now, I'm sure there's more Hindus in Texas than Pakistanis. I'm sure there's potentially more Iranians. There's a lot of Iranians that are in the state of Texas. There's, of course, other countries, but did we see them recognize other countries and a day? Or is this the fact, and here what I think it is, Brannon, is that these Muslims who are coming in from Pakistan, money is flowing into Texas, the Republican Party and their coffers are getting money from these Pakistanis because the Muslims they've taken over the Democrat Party long ago, but now they're going after the Republicans and the Republican Party. And this resolution is a thank you. It's a kiss from the foolish Republicans in Texas to the Pakistanis that are taking over their state, saying, we're so grateful that you're pouring all this money into our state, so we're going to give you a day recognizing one of the worst nations on the planet for persecuting Christians. It is unfathomable. It would be a bad nightmare if it wasn't actually happening.
And this is the same House that went after Ken Paxton for political reasons, right?
Right. Absolutely, right. This is the same Republican leadership. Because there's no way this would have gotten through as a resolution unless the Republican leadership in the Texas House was behind this. And you're absolutely right. This is the same corrupt Texas House that tried to bring false charges against Ken Paxton, which he was able to, beat those charges and prove that, that was a political witch hunt. This is what they're doing. So now we're carving out a niche in a state that is being overrun by these Pakistanis. Let's not forget that Yasser Qadi and EPIC that we've been talking about for the last number of weeks, they're from Pakistan. So this is why they're doing it. These guys are wielding now tremendous political power. The same thing is happening in Sugarland, west of Houston. This is the same group, these individuals and these organizations that are pouring in probably hundreds of millions of dollars into Texas, and now they've been rewarded with a resolution. I've never heard of this. I've never heard of a resolution that we would recognize a foreign country that is a oppressive country. Like how about they didn't recognize Russia Day? I'm sure there's way more than 80,000 Russians living in the state of Texas, but they're going to recognize Pakistan Day, and no wonder Texas is falling to this Islamic takeover.
And thankfully, we have some good guys like Senator Bob Hall, Senator Paul Bendencourt, who I was texting with both of those guys yesterday or the day before, and Senator Bob Hall was on my show last week. These are guys over in the Senate, and they're the ones that threw out these charges when the trial was held over in the Senate against Ken Paxton. And the verdict came down, and those two gentlemen were together on my broadcast on a Saturday with breaking news live. The first interview that they'd given was with us. And what I'm trying to say is they're very good friends to this broadcast ministry, broadcast outlet. And I'm in regular contact with them, and particularly Senator Bob Hall and I have regular contact. And I'm going to be getting with him to find out more about what's going on. But he expressed on my show last week that he's very concerned. Obviously, he says that the way this is being done with freedom of religion, they know how to use our laws against us. So they've got to go about this in a way very carefully so that whatever they do can be held up in court. But these guys know how to use our legal system. I'll have you comment on that in a minute, but I want to go first to a video that was just put out, or at least I was made aware of it by Amy Meek over at the Rare Foundation. And she put a video, I guess this video is not new, but I wasn't aware of it. I want you to tell me why you think this video is significant. It is Yasser Qadi, who is from Pakistan, who is kind of a celebrity in the Islamic world on a global scale. And he left Memphis. He went down there to Plano. He's helping oversee this big, looks like it's going to be an Islamic Sharia, Islamic law compound. And he took two imams and he went to the farm that is known as South Fork. It's a ranch, I should say, a ranch. Now, I'm not a fan of the show from the late 70s and into the 80s in Dallas, and I'm not here to promote it or I'm not endorsing it. I'm just saying, I never watched it. I'm just saying that I think they're trying to take Americana, things that are Americana, and then put a stamp of Islam on it and say, we're taking over. We're taking over your pop culture. We're taking over your culture in general. There's nothing you guys have that's America that we can't make Islamic. Listen to this from South Fork. Some of it is Yasser Qadi jabbering in Arabic, but here we go.
No audio, guys.
Wait a minute, let's back it up. There's no audio on that. Here we go, guys. Sorry.
Nothing, guys.
Are you not getting that?
Still getting no audio. All right. All right. Well, we'll try to figure that out. Logan's working on that. That's what happens when you have a studio that is, is on the road. We got back at 1:35 this morning and then had to set everything back up. So that happens. Logan assures me the third time is the charm. We'll see here. Here we go.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We're standing on this beautiful day in the city of Dallas, but I have a very, very interesting question. Ustad, do you know who JR is?
Well, the only JR I know are Jad and Riyadh, my kids.
JR, Dallas.
Yeah, Dallas.
We are standing at South Fork Ranch, where one of the most important and historic episodes of American television took place, the famous Dallas series. Not that I've ever watched any, and I don't know who killed JR, but I do know that, alhamdulillah, at the very location where that entire series was filmed, a historic event is going to take place, and that is our Eid al-Fitr, inshallah ta'ala, on the 2nd of May, inshallah ta'ala. We're going to be having the largest, the grandest, the most epic Eid that Dallas has ever seen.
Come and have your Eid with us. Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wait a minute. You forgot to mention the fireworks.
Okay, so this took place at South Fork. Why does this matter? Come back. We'll have Sharam Hadian explain what it is they're trying to say to the folks in Texas by holding it on this ranch. We'll be right back. Hello, I'm Brannon Howse. I want to thank you for all your support at wvwfoundation.com that helps make possible pushing out 24/7 content for free. Without your support, we'd have to put it all behind a paywall. But thanks to you and your support through our foundation, we're able to push it out for free as a broadcast service and broadcast ministry of WVW Foundation. Please consider going there and setting up an automatic monthly contribution, or go there and make an occasional contribution. If you prefer to support us through the mail, you'll find our mailing address there at wvwfoundation.com. You can also call and make your contribution over the phone by calling 901-825-0652. That's 901-825-0652. Again, all these details are available at wvwfoundation.com. Thank you for your support as we try to help people around the world understand the times through the lens of a Christian worldview. All right, welcome back. Glad you're with us. Worldview Radio. Our website, worldviewradio.com. Worldviewradio.com. All right, so we're talking about the takedown of Texas. It seems as though every couple days there's another story. Now you say, I don't live in Texas. Well, you should be concerned because they take over Texas, folks, and you can kiss every presidential election goodbye. Because that's a big state with a lot of electoral votes. And if they can take down Texas, folks, they can take down Wisconsin. They can take down any state they want. If they can do it in Texas, they can do it anywhere. Stop it, Dolly. And so that's the concern. speak to me as to why you think they're wanting to do this on this South Fork Ranch, Shahram. Why are they doing that?
Well, Brannon, everything is symbolism, right? And there's all these symbolism, as you said. Dallas was an iconic show, and like you said earlier, well said. It's not something that we watched or supported. Obviously, it was not a very family-friendly show, but it's an iconic show. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, you're right. It's not a very family-friendly show, but it was part of pop culture.
It was pop culture, and it was recognized around the world. When people thought of Texas, they thought of Dallas. And I remember even when we came to the States, in the late 70s, I mean, it was like, that was kind of one of the iconic kind of images was that show, because it was broadcast around the world. And I remember watching it where it was broadcast in other languages. So it was a very iconic show. And so these symbols, and this is not the first time, the biggest symbol of this is what happened at Ground Zero when the towers were brought down and 9/11 and all that stuff, right? What is the first thing they do? They're going to plan now an Islamic center right on the very area that that attack happens. So this type of symbolism and attacking symbolism are very much signs, first, to their own people. So Yasser Qadi and the Islamic movement in Texas is trying to signify to their own people that we are now in the position of taking over, meaning they're in the position of going to the upper house in Texas. They're in the position where they feel like they have so much political power and so much political will that they are not going to be stopped from whatever they're going to do. And so that's number one. Number two, they're sending a message to the foolish unbelievers, the foolish people that are being subjugated, that we are going to subjugate you, that this is a sign of subjugation. Because if we can take this facility, and by the way, they didn't just, I mean, what was this, right? They're having the end of Ramadan where they are, I don't know if you played, Brannon, the beginning of the clip where they actually show the prayer. Did you play that part of it?
I don't think so, no.
Well, at the bottom of that article on Rare Foundation, they actually had it where they're showing where they did the prayer, where they have probably, it looks to me on the video, maybe about 1,000 more, probably more people on the ranch.
Yeah, I'm playing it now. I'm playing it now. I didn't know it was there. I didn't go to the bottom of the article, so thank you.
Yeah, no, that's okay. And so it's there, and so you're watching.
But before our radio audience, explain for the radio audience, like you were doing. Go back and explain to the radio audience what's in this footage.
Now dedicating that land to Allah. They're dedicating that land to their false god, to their demonic Antichrist spirit. And this is a major blow to Texas, claiming that it is a state where we're going to honor Christ. And these guys are taking over and saying, no, we're going to honor it to Allah. So this is absolutely well thought out on their part. It's a brilliant strategy on their part in a very evil way. And Texas better wake up soon, because they are literally in the midst of being conquered. And right now, the Muslims are playing the game where they're siding with the Republicans. That's why the Republicans passed this resolution. They're so foolish that they think they can appease these Muslims. And what's going to happen is once they take over, they will turn Texas to the party that they feel is going to be against America, which is
We're
the
standing
Democrat
on this
Party.
beautiful day in the city of Dallas. But I have a...
Of course, one of the problems, there we go, it's leaking over. One of the problems in Texas is that you have, I think, Democrat Marxists, these cultural Marxists, running as Republicans, but they're not. It's the same thing goes on in South Dakota. Former Speaker of the House there has told us on radio, Steve Hegseth, that's not Hegseth, that's Pete. It'll come to me in a minute. He has said to us on the air, you know him too, that
yes,
so many of the people that run in South Dakota are not Republicans. They run as Republicans, but they're Democrats. are their uniparty people. They're doing that same thing in Texas. Steve what was it? What's his? Haggard? Yes, thank you, Logan. Steve Haggard.
Steve Haggard.
He told us that as a former speaker. Yeah. So I think they're doing that in Texas. The House is clearly not run. I mean, while it's run by Republicans, many of those are cultural Marxists, multiculturalists. They're liberals running under the banner of Republicans, but they're not holding to Republican values at all. Agree?
Agreed. Because if they held to Republican values, number one, they would recognize that you don't recognize a country that is one of the worst abusers of human rights, of the rights of women, the rights of religious minorities like the 4+ million Christians that live in Pakistan. You don't. You just that should have never even been a starter of a conversation. Hey, let's recognize this country. So that's number one. Number two, you also recognize that when you are allowing these things per a Republican platform, we don't allow anything that would be antithetical to the constitutional republic that we serve, right? So we understand that no element of foreign law should be allowed even a sniff of our legal system. We don't recognize this with UN laws. We saw this during COVID, where we had these Republicans going along and giving authority to the United Nations, to the WHO. A Republican platform would say, no, we don't give credence to foreign law, to any unconstitutional mandates coming from a foreign body like the United Nations. Well, same thing with Sharia. A Republican constitutional platform would say, look, though we would argue that a Muslim could come into America and privately pray to whatever God they want, whatever false God they want, in this country, you have a right to not believe in a God, or you have a right to believe in that, a tree is a God, or an elephant is a God. Okay, that's, I guess, your individual prerogative. But once you see public application, where now there is a demand that we're going to carve out and we're going to allow, for example, a city to be built that is going to be for Muslims only. They're going to discriminate. Not that you and I or anybody would want to live in that epic city, but they're going to discriminate. They're going to have laws that they have a type of financing, Brannon, that is only for Muslims. They have they're going to have crimes. They're going to demand public accommodation. This is absolutely unacceptable. And you're right. It is probably because of the fact that you have a lot of wolves in sheep's clothing who claim to be Republicans in that state, like here in Tennessee is the same thing.
And I'm reading some of the comments on X today under this video on the X account of Rare Foundation, and people are irate. People who are not even from Texas are irate because they're saying, yeah, this is going to happen. This can happen anywhere. They can take down any state if they can do this in Texas. I think you and I both agree they're probably targeting Tennessee next, correct?
I believe so very strongly that I believe that, there's kind of three states that I look at in this southern region that I think are very strong. One will be Texas, one will be Tennessee, and perhaps Oklahoma within that. I mean, obviously Arkansas has, Huckabee Sanders as governor and stuff like that. But specifically, I believe Tennessee is the next target. And of course, they've started where you're based, out of the Memphis area, and they're heading further east. We know lots of stuff that they've done in Middle Tennessee. I just got wind of a massive engineering school in Middle Tennessee, in a community that nobody would have thought that clearly this engineering school, which is named after I believe they're actually Pakistani. I'm going to confirm that. But they're either Saudi or Pakistanis that have put money into this school. And, where is that money coming from? Why would they build an engineering school that is dedicated to Islam in Middle Tennessee? So, I believe that they're targeting Tennessee next. And if we don't stop this, if we don't push back in Texas, That's why it matters. That's why I go to Minnesota or I go to Wisconsin, because I'm trying to tell people there, Brannon, look, they're doing this. It's already happening. And if there's no pushback, what did CARE say in Minneapolis when they got the Islamic call of prayer broadcast on loudspeakers 5 times a day? They said this is the blueprint for every American city. What did they just do in Sugar Land, Texas? They broadcast the Islamic call of prayer during Ramadan, connecting it to Mecca, at the same time live streaming from Mecca in the city square. So if there is no opposition, and of course, as a pastor, I would ask, where are the pulpits? Where are the pastors? Here we go again. We see the cowardice. We see the silence. Or we see the cooperation with this, where I don't want to take too much time, but one of the things that we're seeing is that it seems like those who, Brannon, are very much against Israel, it's almost like they're kind of wanting this because they believe that the Christians that are standing with Israel need to be brought down, and maybe that's part of the equation here too. Is let's take down the states and the areas where you have large numbers of Christians that are supporting Israel. Let's take down those states, and it seems like some Christians are helping them. It seems like some of the hyper-Calvinists and Reform guys are helping them to do that, or the likes of Candace Owens. So, what's going on here?
You remember how you and I were attacked?
It's multifaceted.
The way you and I were attacked, Usama was attacked, the lies being told about me, you, Usama, that, Usama was a fake, that you probably weren't even a Muslim or coming from a Muslim family at one time. I mean, all the lies. Now, these were coming from so-called Christians. I knew who some of them were. I knew who some of them were. And you could go to their X accounts and verify what church they went to. And it was usually a hyper-Calvinist church. They were rooting for Yasser Qadi. They were rooting for Yasser Qadi and James White. They thought this was wonderful, that this was the gospel. This is what Jesus would have us do. So I think you're onto something, Sharon, when you say that you have some pastors and Christians that are just not saying anything. They're afraid of being labeled, or they don't know enough to say anything. I think that's part of it. People don't know enough about Islam to talk too much because they fear that if they get too many questions that they can't answer. Like, well, you don't even know anything about Islam. Why are you so against something you don't know anything about? So we got to educate people so they can have the courage to speak up with their convictions. Because I think some people have some convictions on this. They just need the courage. But then you have other Christians, so-called, that I think are encouraging for you, say, to come after the Zionist. Phone line's now open, 1-800-347-9829. Hello, I'm Brannon Howse. Is the government tracking you? Do they have access to all your data? Well, if you go to worldviewtalk.com, you'll find out about a cell phone company that, does not store your data. They don't do that. This is what they're known for. They don't store your data. You have privacy. You're not being tracked. That's why a lot of folks are turning to worldviewtalk.com. You'll find their prices are very competitive. All the details are there at worldviewtalk.com. Again, worldviewtalk.com. Oh, while you're there, not only do they have cell phones that aren't tracking you, you can find out about how to get a satellite phone. Should the whole system go down and you want to communicate with a family member or loved one, you might want to have a satellite phone. Or how about their solar generators? They have great solar generators. Check them all out right now. Worldviewtalk.com. Worldviewtalk.com. All right, 1-800-347-9829. 1-800-347-9829. Your thoughts, your comments, your questions. What are you seeing in some of your states, by the way? We know what we're seeing in Minnesota. We know what we're seeing in Michigan. We now know what we're seeing in Texas. What are you seeing in some of your states, folks? 1-800-347-9829. Let's start out with Alice, line 1. Alice in Arkansas. Thanks for calling in, Alice.
Hello, Brandon. Tom and I were glad to be in on the vault meeting last night. We've sent messages. Brandon, from last night and what you said today, My heart is aching because Jesus Christ died once for all, and that truly the Muslims. And what is so sad is he is the only way, the truth, and the light. It isn't just the Muslims, but America needs a real revival of getting back to loving God, number one. I thank you for the information because it just makes me want to pray.
Pray. And that's what we need, isn't it, Alice? Because we talked about last night, as you and Tom have already emailed me today about last night watching, and I responded, so thank you for watching. It's a spiritual battle. And we know that part of that, of course, is prayer. So, Alice, I know you're a prayer warrior. And so thank you. Thank you, as always, for your call and your encouragement, as well as Tom. 1-800-347-9829. Let's go to Don in Kansas. Line 2, Don. Thanks for calling in today, Don.
Yeah, hi. I just wanted to remind your callers, if my history serves me correctly, in reference to Pakistan, in the late 50s and early 60s, we had a program in the United States we called Atoms for Peace, where we thought, oh, gee, if we sell atomic technology to our allies, it'll lead to peace for peaceful uses. And Pakistan turned around and sold that technology to North Korea. Also, I wanted to remind your viewers, I'm a retired veteran. During the war on terrorism, many terrorists would be given refuge in Pakistan during that whole period when we were hunting Osama bin Laden. They would share intelligence with us, but they weren't our friends.
Wow. Another great call. Don, thank you. We have such a smart audience and people from so many different walks of life that can contribute and remind us of things that we have forgotten or things we didn't even know we need to learn. So, Don, excellent call. Quick comment before we go to Dick in Maryland, Sharam?
No, that was an excellent point with the fact that this, again, that's another reason why there should not have been a resolution. You have a foreign country and a foreign government that is not an ally of the United States. Why is the state of Texas giving them a resolution? That's a great point by Don.
When they're killing Christians and raping Christian girls, putting them into sex slavery, why is Texas doing that? I mean, again, I go back to the fact I'm afraid we have a red-green axis, and the red-green axis with a lot of money has infiltrated our legislatures. Let's go to Dick in Maryland, line 3. Hi, Dick. Thanks for calling in.
Yeah, thank you, Sharam and Brannon. You two guys are doing a great job with the Rare Foundation material. Well, a couple demographics about Texas. 20% of the Texans are identified as Catholics. Many of them are Latinos. The reason you hear silence from the Catholic Church, which is really important related to the movement of Islam across the country as well as Texas, is simply look at the Roman Catholic Catechism, go to paragraph 841, you will read. This was added since Vatican II, but 841 specifically says salvation is available to all, especially Islam. So you're not going to hear any pushback from the Catholic Church or the bishops or the priests on Sunday or any other time in any way criticizing Islam. And that is such a powerful message to people, including politicians who want votes, that this normalization of Islam is happening in Texas as well as all these other places. That paragraph is pretty damning.
Wow. Thank you, Dick. As always, great to hear from you. And last night I mentioned and played, read quotes about at the Shriners. Not all Masons are Shriners, but all Shriners are Masons. And at the highest level of Freemasonry, the Shriners, they actually take an oath to Allah, the one true God. And I mentioned last night that many of our Protestant churches in America, many of the so-called pastors and elders and deacons in the South, many of them are Masons. Now, some of them at the lower levels of Freemasonry really don't know what they're a part of. Albert Pike said it was designed that way, so they really wouldn't know what they were taking part in until they got to an upper level. But there ought to be plenty of signs along the way, particularly if you just have a search engine on your computer. But think about that. If you have Many pastors or elders or deacons in Protestant churches in the South compromised by a religion that promotes ecumenicalism, universalism, and swears at the highest levels of Freemasonry to Allah. Again, what spirit have they been captured by? Therefore, why are they silent? Good question, right? Faith in California, line 4. Thank you for calling in, Faith.
Hi, thanks for taking my call. I actually called in yesterday and told Jim the same thing. It's funny you guys are kind of talking along the same lines today, but I live in California, and last summer we stumbled upon a little city in Stanton, California, and it's known as the Little Arabia District. And it was quite culture shocking, to be honest with you. There were, Palestinian flags flying. There was all kinds of places to buy your, coverings and things like that. So anyway, you can look it up online. It's the Little Arabia District. Just a bit of info.
Wow. Thank you for that, Faith. Wow. Dave in Arizona. Dave, you go quick. We'll get you in. Line 1, Dave.
Yes, I just had a comment on Sharia law, Sharia in Japan. And under Article 20 of Japan's Constitution, it says, no religious organization shall receive any privileges from the state, nor exercise any political authority. So that would mean like the call to prayer and all that kind of stuff. And I think maybe the time has come for the U.S. to do something similar to that.
Great call, David. Thank you. Sharam, real quick, the music's playing, but Muslim Brotherhood, Yasser Qadhi's part of Muslim Brotherhood, they told us in their Muslim explanatory memorandum that they would get America to take down their own house, right?
Absolutely. Sabotaging their own house from using their hands, absolutely. And Brannon, I do want your callers to call us with more information, especially in Tennessee. We need to be paying attention to this. I have more information I'll share with you later about this thing that I identified.
All right, stay tuned for Crosstalk with Jim Schneider. It's coming up. Take care. And we're back with WROS out of Jacksonville, Florida, and our audience here on Worldview Tube. We have a lot of callers today on that topic. And, of course, our audience is very, very educated. They're very tuned in. The issue is, folks, we've got a lot of education to do with the people that don't know. And as I said earlier, Islam is not an easy religion to figure out, right? It takes some training, some reading, some studying to figure out what Islam is really all about. Most Christians don't know a lot about Christianity. How are they going to be at understanding another religious system, right? They don't know enough about the Bible. They don't know enough about biblical theology and doctrine found in the Bible to defend it. Many Christians don't share their faith. You know why? Because they don't know enough about their faith. So if an atheist or an agnostic or a New Ager or a Muslim or someone that belongs to one of the cults begins to ask them questions, most Christians can't answer, sadly. And I'm not talking about the people in my radio audience or TV audience, because many of them can. But the average Christian in America, many of them cannot answer basic questions like this one. Well, how do you know Jesus was God? I mean, you say Jesus is the only way. How do you know Jesus was God? How do you know Jesus rose from the dead? How do you know your Bible's true? You want to attack the religious writings of other religions? Well, how do you know your Bible's true? These are very common questions in the area of apologetics. Apologetics doesn't mean to apologize for one's faith. It's to give a defense of. And that's what we're called to do in the Bible. The Bible says we're to give a reason for the hope that we profess to any man that asks. Most self-described Christians cannot defend their own Christian faith. They don't want to talk very much about their faith because they're afraid that someone might start asking questions that they can't answer. And that would be kind of embarrassing. You're a Christian, but you don't really know how to defend your own faith. Now, how about those same people now trying to refute Islam in the public square? They may disagree with it. They may agree with everything we're saying. But as soon as they talk about Islam, here's the question. Well, don't Muslims and Christians worship the same God? They just call him by different names? Because I think there was a document out there where a bunch of Christian pastors and Muslim leaders signed a document saying we worship the same God. Yeah, that's right. It's called the Yale document, the common word. They may say, in my community, I see a lot of pastors in my community doing events with Muslims and getting along. So clearly we must worship the same God, right? That's what they might ask. How is the average Christian going to respond to that? Do they know how to say no? Let me explain to you from the Quran, from the Hadiths, why even Muslims know that the God of the Bible is not the God of the Quran. And if the time were available today, I would do it right now. I've done it many times. One simple one is that Allah would never take on the form of a man, but Emmanuel, God with us, the God-man, he did. Allah would never lay down his life for someone else. Jesus Christ did. The God of Islam is not a personal God. The God of the Bible is a personal God. Your days are numbered. He knew you while you were even being knit together in your mother's womb. He knows everything about us. He's a personal God. You have a personal relationship with him through his son, Jesus Christ. But go read the Quran. He's not a personal God. He would never take on the form of man. He would never have a son. He's not someone you can know. By their own documents, by their own book. You see, we've got to get where Christians can defend Christianity, and we've got to get where Christians can then explain the differences between the 6 dominant worldviews. There are more than 6, but the 6 dominant worldviews, and one of those 6 is Islam. One reason for the silence, I don't think, is because many people think Islam is wonderful. I think it's because many people don't know enough about Islam to have the confidence to speak up for fear of being put on the spot and made to feel foolish. And that's what we're here to do, folks, is to help people understand these 6 dominant worldviews and contend for the faith. That's why it's so vital we're here now. Thank you for your support. WorldviewFoundation.com, WorldviewFoundation.com. Take care.
Watching Worldview 2, built on the 35 years of Worldview books, documentaries, research, high-profile interviews, and the radio and television broadcasts of Brannon Howse.
Colonel Rob Maness has a lifelong record of